桑吉尔夫健身房第58课，倒数第3课。后面这些应该全部都是理论上的东西了，不太会有 training room 的东西。Transferable Skill 就是可以借鉴传递的一些技巧。我猜他要开始上天了是吧？比如说别的一些东西的技巧可以转移到街霸上。Are you spending all your game on Street Fighter games, worried that your skills do not translate to other games? Nevanusia 什么语言？西班牙语吗 ？Your efforts are not in vain. Transferable skill. Generally speaking, fighting games have a notoriously high barrier of entry. If Gief's dream is your first attempt to learn and understand the genre, then you already understand the amount of effort required to reach a moderate level of abilities. To the average player who does not have time to commit to practicing and improving at every single fighting game, the idea of dumping hours into any one game might not be very enticing. Fortunately, there are universal skills which apply to all fighting games. Even if those skills are applied in slightly different ways, the core mechanics will stay with you even if it has been years since you've picked up the stick. 挺多的。Performing specials. With a few exceptions, the way that special attacks are performed in 2D fighting games are widely ubiquitous. A Shoryuken is a volcanic viper, is a Shinki Oniaki, is an infernal divider, is an Apodol, is also functionally similar that fighting games shorthand boils down to calling these moves a DP. Shoryuken translates to Rising Dragon Fist, which is abbreviated to Dragon Punch and finally initialized to DP. Once you learn the general motions of 2D fighting games, you can then hold the Rosetta Stone to most other 2D fighters. Performing cancels. Canceling normal attacks into special attacks is another common trait shared in fighting games. The speed of the cancel and the buttons used to perform the cancel might be slightly different, but the cadence of a special cancel will almost never change. You must first make contact with the opponent, then cancel the recovery frames into a special move. There are of course special cases where you can kara cancel, empty cancel out of the start of frames, but generally speaking the mechanics of cancelling are a common skill across fighting games. Ability to perform combos. While combo speed and length may change from game to game, the technical proficiency to perform these combos does carry over. This may seem unrealistic at first, but consider for a moment the technical ability required to play a guitar. With enough practice, your left hand will be able to move quickly up and down the fretboard and your right hand will be on time with the rhythm. Now place a cello in the guitarist's hand. Their left hand may stumble a bit trying to find the right place on the fretboard, but they still maintain the speed and dexterity. Their right hand may not have ever held a bow, but their brain still links the rhythmic motion of the right hand to when they are holding down a note with their left. It will sound bad at first, but with a little bit of effort, the guitarist will quickly be able to learn the cello. 是 cello 还是 cello？ 这应该是大提琴吧。The same type of transition of skill happens with fighting games. One frame link you spent weeks learning will serve to later technically prepare you for the one frame link in another game, where it might only take 3 or 4 tries before you land a difficult combo. Combo building. When a new fighting game is released, the most exciting time can be the discovery of combo potential. You pick a character you like, find out what their farthest normals are, which you might want to use for hit confirms. Then you start looking at what normals are cancelable or even which specials can link you to other special attacks. This will require some lab work, but this process of discovering combos is like trying to speak a second language but you don't quite have the vocabulary. Your mind will already know what it wants to say, but you don't know what the exact word in this second language. So you say that particular word in your first language to try to pantomime the idea you are trying to communicate, and suddenly the person you are talking to understands what you are trying to say. The same thing is true of fighting games. You attempt a crouching medium kick cancelled into a quarter circle forward heavy punch, and you might not get a low forward fireball, but instead get something you don't recognize at all. Now you're performing combos you've never considered before, speaking a language you don't quite understand, excited by the thrill of discovery. Oftentimes, when you search online for combos, you will find short clips of a character doing max damage with full resources in the corner starting from a jump in. At first blush, you might think that this is how your character should be dealing damage or that this is a common combo. However, most players worth their salt will recognize that you will almost never see the max damage combo 100% full meter, no reset, not clickbait combos in a real match. When you are really after is the type of knockdown or air reset which potentially lead to more damage. With a little bit of practice and testing, you will find ways to attack your opponent as they are getting off the ground, or will recognize what combo enders do not allow you to continue to pressure opponent. At the very least, you will know the value of wake-up pressure. Understanding the space control. While this might take longer to execute properly, at a basic level, have an understanding of what areas of the screen can be contested. Mobility and control can vary drastically between games, but the concept of whip punishing or putting yourself in an advantageous position is common throughout fighting games. Hopping over blows, jumping over projectiles, using projectiles to force your opponent into a certain position, backdashing to force a whip, or even sidestepping straight attacks are all techniques that your brain will immediately see and pick up on once you have a basic understanding of space control. In practice, you might be wrong about certain assumptions, so you will need to put in the time to test the specific situations. Understanding advantage. At the extreme end of the spectrum, you know inherently that if you block a DP, you will be allowed to punish a recovery. It is easy to see when your opponent is stuck in recovery, and you will know it is safe to attack, even if you haven't learned your max damage punish. Another common situation is when your opponent blocks a projectile at range once you've already recovered. Because they are stuck in blocks down, you can clearly recognize that you have the advantage. Things get tricky when certain moves aren't obviously punishable, but that doesn't mean you need to do a deep dive into the frame data. Simply test the hypothesis by blocking, then pressing your fastest attack. If you are counter hit, then they go on to perform a game-ending combo. Congratulations, you've learned that your opponent has an advantage in that situation. Reading your opponent. Being able to pick up on player tendencies extends well beyond the realm of fighting games. You can learn the skill playing poker. However, being able to execute on the information your opponent is giving you requires practice and game knowledge. If you understand your opponent's options, you can very quickly begin to punish them severely for sticking to patterns or attempting risky offense. Variety increases personal skill. The hidden benefit of playing different fighting games is that it opens up your mind and almost always helps your fighting game skill set. For example, playing a faster-paced game will help your reactions in a slower-paced game. Playing a game which puts an emphasis on movement and spacing will benefit your sense of spacing in games that don't put a focus on movement. Of course, the variety of fighting games available make it impossible that all of your experience will be one-to-one facsimile across all fighting games. However, the skills you learn often translate between games, especially when you stay within a certain franchise. 这章其实根本就没有重点讲街霸，重点讲的是不同格斗游戏之间的联系。其实别说格斗游戏了，格斗游戏跟别的游戏其实也有联系，只是因为它比较特殊嘛，所以真的要说相似度的话，还是只能跟一些街机格斗比，比如说什么拳皇、街霸、铁拳这些常规的街机格斗游戏，你上面讲到这些基本都全有必杀技，然后取消 combo，combo， 然后呢自己研究 combo。如果新的角色拿到你就不知道有什么技能的话，你大概知道有什么236了623，然后214，再是什么624了426，大概就是这个东西。然后 K 这边压起身肯定是有的，控制距离肯定是有的，谁有力争不力争，谁有力谁不力肯定是有的。然后呢读心肯定是有的，所以基本是通的，基本是通的。这样的话也没什么东西可以测试了，最后可以看一个东西吧，简单看个东西，看一下波动拳。波动拳我觉得近距离防这好像是有力争几针来着，随便测试一下啊，跟这课基本上没什么关系。想他下一课就要跟你讲心灵鸡汤了，大致意思好像是 never give up， 不要怕输之类的，一直往前走。所以此类游戏你上手 PVP 为主对吧 ？PVP 为主，上手被屌锤。这也是一个原因，因为它的游戏比较硬核如果你完全没有接触过此类游戏的话，你可能会被那些虽然对面可能也没接触过这款游戏，对面跟你一样这款游戏是新手，但问题是对面是打了可能时间不长，比如说2年街机厅的这种经验是有的，那么对面上手可能比你要快很多，就是这个意思。就同样是这个龙下蹲， 同样是新手，因为他有一些别的格斗游戏的经验啊，这个经验是非常重要的。如果没有这经验的话，差距会很大。轻的、中的、重的有区别了吗？我让本田防一下吧，就看怎么 punish。近距离、超近距离波动拳，照理说应该可以 punish。啊，6帧是吧？啊，6帧。一样的是吧？试一下啊，这个东西怎么 punish？ 还不知道。来不及了是吧？好，来起来。操！你看这6帧，本田的这个蹲轻拳是5帧都不一定来得及。基本上提前按。啊，轻腿的命中了。啊，点不到。所以看起来不利帧是6帧，哪怕用4帧去能去点，哪怕用4帧去能去点，也是只能刚好点到的。很难的，6帧看不利帧是6帧，但因为距离比较远，就拉完之后它会距离会拉开，所以这种技能其实挺难确反的，要看你角色的拳脚，拳脚一般的话就很难确反。能提前按，但是第2条就点不到了。稍微提前点按，这下是能中的，但就30而已。对面磨了你10血，你中了对面30血，这肯定是没啥意思。这可以的，这可以，这个距离惩罚就可以惩罚。啊，这要 reversal 肯定不行。头锤应该牺牲的吧？头锤牺牲了就来不及。这个场景如果我是啃的话就容易了，我是啃的话相当容易，只要个升龙就行。点不到了，没回到。所以波动拳这个东西本身就是一个比较难用的东西。用的好的话，比如说偶尔放一个，哪怕真的很近的距离，不利帧6帧，对吧？照理说应该可以确反，就对面反应不过来，或者对面还没法掌握这个所谓的提前输入啊。这个作品街霸5容易就是容易在这儿，它不需要在能动的内帧刚好那帧按下去才能反击，因为你想，哪怕是不利帧6帧，我这个最快的技能是不是蹲轻腿是4帧，对吧？那你也只有3帧时间啊，你也只有3帧时间是来得及按的。但因为这次我修改过了这个防反的设定，你就不需要在你能动的第1帧按，你可以提前一点按，所以最好你就提前按。一旦提前按的话，它提前几帧按的话，它就可以在你能动的第1帧就出来，所以你没有必要刚好卡在那帧。当然卡到那帧没有问题，提早几帧也是可以按出来，所以宁早勿迟。反击动是这个东西是宁早勿迟的，所以为什么说是这个肯这种角色比较蛋疼就在这儿。你像本田的头锤撞过去也算 special 是吧？撞过去不利帧4帧，那个距离不容易反击的，对吧？但如果我是肯的话，对面本田轻头锤撞过来，我防住的瞬间直接摇一个升龙，直接摇个重升龙，因为刚好是4帧嘛，刚好是4帧，对面不利帧4帧，所以你只要最速出来的话，对面就吃一套，这样就亏大了。就单纯是一个这个攻击判定大，而且攻击判定大，发生真快，伤害不低的非常好用的一个防反技能，是凹王之王嘛？这个名字可不是名不虚传。是啊，后面最后还有2课， 59是 words of encouragement， 鼓励的话，就跟你把毕业典礼赠给学弟学妹的话一样，还 words of encouragement。最后一张是 drive， 估计也是差不多意思吧。我猜动力总不可能是什么 C 盘 D 盘的意思，应该就是往前进的动力的意思，可能跟59个差不多。鸡汤。